broadcasting from Toronto in Canada. I'm Graham Hughes, and it is Tuesday, the 10th of December 2024. Well done on making it this far, as always. And big welcome to anyone watching. If you are watching, let me know in the chat, because obviously I've just gone live and I'm on my phone. So, the amount of information I'm party to is a little bit less than it is when I'm at home on my computer in my studio all set up. Anyway, so today we're going to be talking about something that actually, oh my God, seems to have united the left and the right wing of the political spectrum, which is remarkable because that very rarely happens, especially in this day and age of polarization. Hi Diz, how you doing? And it's been the unaliving of this healthcare CEO in America and the torrent of horrific stories that have come as a result of people sharing their experiences with healthcare in America and just how unbelievably bad it is. Like, people in America, they think the NHS is awful. They think it's all like medieval medicine or something. And the NHS until 2010 was the envy of the world. We had the most cost-effective healthcare system in the world. America spends more on Medicare and Medicaid, which doesn't cover everyone, than we do on the NHS in the UK. And you're like, hang on, how can they spend more on that and it only covers a fraction of the population, and we, per person, and we spend less and we cover everyone? Well, there's a few reasons. First of all, we don't have insurance companies taking the piss. We also don't have hospitals and procedures and medicines, pharmaceutical companies price gouging. Basically, how much would you stay? Well, how much would you spend to keep your loved one alive? That's the question that every healthcare CEO asks themselves before they, I don't know, tranquilize themselves to sleep, because I can't imagine how anyone like that could actually sleep at night. But obviously these people are psychopaths. And your usual right-wing grifters, like your transphobic scumbag Matt Walsh and weird talking who I really don't understand how anyone can take someone who sounds like a cartoon character seriously about politics. Like, how can anyone listen to him and go and think that's the person who's speaking the reasonable truth here? He sounds like a cartoon bully from a cartoon. Like the little bully comes up and bullies the little kid, and the bully just sounds like almost like the aliens from Mars Attacks. But anyway, I digress. Both of them were like, oh, left-wing grifter, is left-wings, people's, celebrating the death of the CEO. How dreadful people are, the left-wing. And they have faced a torrent of abuse from people who are right-wing. And now that the alleged killer has been caught in McDonald's, a bit weird to be anti-capitalist and then be caught in a McDonald's. Note to anyone who's thinking of committing a crime and who doesn't want to get caught, stockpile. If you're gonna plan something in advance, just buy loads of food, right, and loads of drink, right, and then just stay in your house or your flat. Just stay wherever you live for the next 4 months. Just don't leave. You did it during lockdown. Or spend the rest of your life in jail. I mean, it's up to you. But if you really do need to go out to get McDonald's, then obviously, please don't let me stop you going to get some plastic food where the milkshake machine never works. But the response has been almost total to the response to Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh and all those scumbags has been almost universally critical of them, saying, excuse me, this isn't about left and right. This is about Americans not getting healthcare. And I'm like, it is about left and right, really, because the right think that it's right to price gouge people who are desperate, whether it's during a pandemic, during a war, or just during everyday life. Someone is run over by a car and they're screaming for someone not to call them an ambulance, because if they do, they will be out of coverage and they will have to pay $500,000 back over several years. Because the insurance company will say, no, we're not going to insure you for that hospital. It's like in the UK, when you are on the LNER train and it breaks down, because of course it does, and you have to get off at Doncaster, heaven forfend, and the next train comes along in an hour, and you're sitting there waiting for the next train to come along, and it comes along, and the conductor says, sorry, you can't come on this train because it's a GWR train. And you're like, so it's the next train to London. I have a ticket to London. Yes, but you have an LNER ticket to London, so you can't come on this train. Imagine that, but it's hospitals. So you get hit by a car, you're unconscious, you get taken to a hospital, and it's a hospital that's not covered by the NHS. You have been taken to a GWR hospital, and you have insurance with LNER. Or, even better, you go to the right hospital, but the train driver, doctor, is not covered by the health insurance. You get no choice in the matter. You are unconscious, and they kind of do it on purpose. Maybe they do it on purpose. They don't have to pay out. You know, they can keep their obscene corporate profits. The United Healthcare, whatever it's called, the healthcare system that this CEO worked for, makes profits bigger than ExxonMobil. Another evil company, which makes money out of human misery and death. But yeah, there you go. They seem to be competing against each other. So this is something that, you know, is a bit of surprise to the scumbags on the right who like making videos. The response has been, you are a dickhead. What are you talking about? This isn't left and right. This is people dying. This is Americans not being covered by healthcare. And people are right, you know, and this is a situation where we can really capitalize on the fact that people on the right are beginning to wake up to the injustices that we take for granted. We go, look, we don't like these injustices that happen. We should do something about it. And the right say, oh, you woke culture warrior. Oh, look at you bleeding heart, lefty liberal. Oh, caring about injustice. But now you've got people on the right who are going, well, you know, my mum died because she didn't get covered by her insurance, and they waited to, you know, see if she needed an operation, and they rejected her, and then they had to reapply and to the insurance company, and then finally, you know, 2 months later, they finally got the approval to go ahead with the operation, but by then it was too late. The cancer had spread, and she died. And that happens all the time in America. Like, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of people every year in America who die unnecessarily because of their healthcare system, because of their really fucked up healthcare system. And yeah, people are waking up to it now, I guess. I don't know how long it's going to last. You know, you kind of hope that people will wake up to the tragedy of Brexit, but people don't. But this could be an interesting way of seeing if we can get through to the other side, because they're so wrapped up in their manufactured culture wars against trans people and against virtue signaling, you know, like poppies, and and immigrants are coming. Immigrants are less likely to commit crime than native indigenous born people of that country. Because those people are a little less fearful of being deported back to the country they came from. Whereas an immigrant, if they commit a crime, they're a bit more wary of that, because it's something that could definitely happen even for a minor infraction. And they commit less crimes. So people saying, oh, immigrants coming, they're committing crimes. They're not. And the idea that because the most popular boy's name at the moment is Mohammed, but it's only like 1% of kids being born being called Mohammed. And, you know, so, but the issue is with people like Lawrence Fox and racists, is like, oh my God, that's not a white name. Oh dear, that's people who are not white. There's more of them than there are of anyone else. No, there's not. It's just that that's the most popular name. Mostly because every eldest male in a Muslim family will generally be called Mohammed. It's just the way that it works. Although now I'm thinking, if I ever have children, I might call the firstborn Mohammed, even if it's a girl, just to piss off Lawrence Fox, make him cry. But, you know, I digress. So all these mad little culture war bullshit doesn't matter has been distracting the right for ages. And then, you know, it distracts the left as well, because we never have a conversation about anything, really. Because we're always sort of chasing the error. We're always, they're controlling the narrative, and they're saying, hey, you know, what we should do is We should ban trans people from ever going through a wee. Ah! And then we have to say, that's barbaric. What's wrong with you, you idiot? And we're wasting time. We're wasting time arguing amongst ourselves when really we should be going after the big boys. We should be going after the healthcare system in America and the people in the UK who want the same healthcare system for us. Who are those people? Those people are people like Charlotte Gill. They're people like Isabel Oakeshott. They're people like Richard Tice and Nigel Farage and all of those scumbags at 55 Tufton Street in the Institute for Economic Affairs and Civitas and the LGB Alliance and the Taxpayers Alliance and all those other scumbag so-called charities that are paid for by fuck knows who. They don't tell us who actually pays for them. And we can imagine though, because they all seem to be wanting, I don't know, privatized healthcare system of America. So maybe some pharmaceutical companies are paying them. Maybe, they seem to want to pollute the world as much as possible. So maybe some oil companies are paying them. I don't know. And, they seem to like war and civil unrest and like the idea of everyone having a gun, don't they? So maybe some arms manufacturers are funding them as well. And they like the idea of smoking anywhere they want. So maybe the tobacco barons are funding them as well. I wouldn't know. I just imagine. That if your position was, I think everyone should die of lung cancer, you could imagine via smoking and, pay us for the privilege, pay literally billions of pounds a year to the tobacco companies for the privilege of dying early, which is what millions of Brits do and have done over the years. You can imagine that they would want a sort of pressure group, a think tank, to pressure the government into making sure that, kids start smoking and fight against things like, I don't know, warnings on cigarette packets or making it difficult to buy cigarettes. When I was a kid, you go into the sweet shop and behind the person at the cash desk was a vast array of multicoloured boxes of excitement, of adultness. So when you're a kid, I don't know if you can remember that far back, I just about can, one of the big drivers of your motivations when you are sort of young teenager is to be treated like an adult. And in fact, you'll find that a lot of kids respond better when they're spoken to like an adult rather than being spoken to like children, which really pisses a lot of children off. I don't know if you noticed this, but it really does. So if you do that when you encounter a child, if you feel the need to talk to them like a children's television presenter from the 80s, please stop that. But one of the things is that they want to be treated like an adult. That is the dream of most children. Like they want to be, not necessarily given the same rights and privileges. I'm not saying, obviously, when you're 16, it would be nice to be able to go into a bar and buy a drink, which you can't. But aside from that, there's too many 8-year-olds who are like, I really want to drive on a road. They might think it was fun to drive a car around the track, but driving on a road would be a bit terrifying when you're only year high. But the one thing that can make a young teenager feel like an adult is smoking. And the tobacco companies, the cancer companies knew this, and they went, oh God, we can totally sort this out. We can make loads of money out of this, because they needed to replace the 120,000 people who died every year of smoking in the UK with new smokers. And when I was a kid, they did it. They absolutely did it. So many people I know started smoking as a teenager. And it was all to do with peer pressure, advertising. Everyone was smoking in films. And when I was a young kid, you could smoke everywhere. And people did. People smoked in work. People smoked on the upstairs of buses. People smoked. You couldn't escape it. You were just breathing in this toxic, disgusting, horrific, radioactive smoke every single day from other people. And don't forget when Roy Castle, who presented the show called Record Breakers, who was a sort of beloved children's television presenter of his time, he died of passive smoking. He died of lung cancer, and he didn't smoke himself. And I remember at the time the backlash against people saying that he died from passive smoking, and the tobacco companies spent a lot of money convincing people that passive smoking wasn't actually a thing. They did scientific tests to say, oh, actually no, Pasteur's it doesn't. It's not really a thing that people go on TV and poo-poo the idea. And so we're seeing that cycle come around again and again, where people are paid a shit fuck ton of money, charismatic, energetic, Riz people, the Riz people, to go on these shows. You know, I don't find them charismatic. I find them hideous. The likes of Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson and Nigel Farage, I find them disgusting. I think that they are just the detritus of mankind. But some people find them engaging, and they know that, and they are paid vast sums of money to spread this information and plug their products, and their products are death, 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 and death. But they, first of all, want to get as much money as possible out of people. So if you imagine that the CEO of a tobacco company has shares maybe in a pharmaceutical company that, I don't know, makes cancer medication, would that make sense to you? Would it make sense for someone who sells cancer to want to make money out of cancer when people need to be treated for cancer that they've caused? Of course, that happens. It totally happens. You don't have to be Elon Musk and literally be the CEO of 4 different companies. I guess CEOs don't do very much, but you don't need to be the CEO. You just need to have shares in that company, and that goes down quite well. If you are a healthcare exec, I could imagine them having shares in firearms companies, in gun manufacturers, because, of course, like the more people who get shot, the more people need, you know, emergency medicine that they didn't think they were going to need, and might be taken to the wrong hospital because they've been shot, they might be unconscious. In any case, they're going to be in a lot of pain and need to get to the first available hospital, and you can make sure that those hospitals are, you know, out of coverage. And you can actually price gouge these people, charge them a horrific sum every month for their insurance, and then not give them the insurance at the end of it. So it's good in a way that finally we've found something that the right sort of agree with the left upon, which is that, you know, corporate greed, when it comes to people dying in hospitals, and it's them, they don't care about people from other countries dying in wars, or, you know, other people they don't care about. You know, it's as if there's somebody else's problem field around every other human in the world apart from them. They just don't care. But healthcare affects them as well, and we really need to, like I said earlier, we need to use this situation, capitalize on this situation, like good old capitalists that we are, to make the argument to British people now about how bad the American system is, and show people these videos. So if you're watching this and you've seen any of the videos on TikTok or on shared on Facebook or on YouTube over the last week or so, where it's been people just talking about their experience of the American healthcare system, or the insurance system, the privatized system that they have, and the bill that they had at the end of this trauma, or that they didn't get the healthcare they needed because they were told that they were out of coverage. There was a story that I saw where a guy couldn't get a wheelchair because the doctor didn't explain why they needed a wheelchair in the little box in the form of why they needed a wheelchair. They were a double leg amputee. And they were like, no, sorry, you didn't fill out the form correctly, so this person can't have a wheelchair. They're going to have to buy that themselves. Nice. Well, what do they need a wheelchair for, eh? Yeah, you need to explain it to me. It says at the top of the form, double amputee. Yeah, but why do they need a wheelchair? I mean, this should be really evident to anyone who's, you know, I don't know, over the age of 2, I think. But apparently not to the American insurance companies. So we need to share these videos with people that we know in our lives who might be taken in by Nigel Farage, right? Share these videos and say, this is the healthcare system that Nigel Farage wants. This is the healthcare system that your hero, who is paid by big pharma, by big oil, by big gun manufacturers, by big tobacco, whatever merchants of death sell, you know, want to sell their wares. They pay the likes of Nigel Farage lots and lots and lots of money, enough for them to have a fucking Coots bank account, and then whinge when it's taken away from them. Oh my God, we've got to start a nationwide bloody, movement, and front cover of the fucking Daily Mail for like 5 days in a row. Oh my God, rich person isn't allowed rich person's bank account because he's not rich enough for the rich person's bank account. Oh, I gotta hate him. I really hate him. I can't wait till the likes of Farage and Trump and Boris Johnson and Assad and Putin just bloody cark it. Only took 11 days for Syria to fall, by the way. Well, not Syria, but the Al-Assad regime. 11 days, my friends. That's all it takes. Bear that in mind. Right, okay, so I've got a few super chats which I have ruinously ignored. I'm very sorry, ruinously, because if I ignore the super chats, no one will send super chats. One angry pagan says, my sis Raven wanted me to say hi on her behalf. Hi Raven, how you doing? Nice to have you on board. And all the badges in the chat. Alice Doom says, thank you very much for the super chat, mate. That's really kind. NHS being the gold standard in 2010, now failing. I wonder what happened. I hope we don't get insurance, medical care. Just as you stated, people die on us, US-based system or bankrupt. Yeah, the number of people who've gone bankrupt because of medical care in the UK is zero. And it has been since the 1940s. Like, it is zero. And it means that, look, a healthier population is good for the economy. Like, again, it makes moral sense to look after your citizens. That's the job of a government. You've got to protect your citizens. Whoever you're in charge of, whoever's given you their inalienable rights have been, ceded in some way to you to run the country. And part of that social contract is you protect us. You protect us against foreign invading armies. You protect us against murderers. You protect us supposedly against rapists and sexual assaulters. Not that they do. They're supposed to protect us against ignorance. They're supposed to protect us against illness. They're supposed to protect us against things that kill us, which sometimes they do a good job of, and sometimes they do an absolutely terrible job of. And and that's why you get that lot of anyone who says sort of things like, "Oh, for safety," is someone who doesn't live in the real world, or they're an idiot, or they are, somehow connected with the health insurance business, I guess, because they're like, "Oh, I want people to injure themselves at work, so it costs them loads of money in insurance." my insurance CEO mate could make even more money and buy an even bigger yacht, because the yacht they've got is only 72 foot. I mean, it was a 72-foot yacht. She's gonna sink that, and he's gonna get a 75-foot yacht instead. Or maybe the orcas could come to our rescue and sink it for us. Anyone watching Phil's video before coming across young MAGA Nazis New York have invited Farage to speak at their gala, but not the Tories, referring to an event for winners and not losers. Oh God, MAGA Nazis. There was another super chat, one from Angry Pagan again. Thank you, sir. UK and EU must back Rojava. You'll have to explain that to me a bit, sorry. And when you pull apart Jordan Peterson's arguments, you basically realise what he's saying is gobbledygook. Says Duke Venus, yes, he's not very clear in what he actually says, but he's got this ability, and so Trump does this to a certain extent, and Boris Johnson. They sound lucid to someone who's not paying too much attention, in the way that an AI picture looks real until you look at it and you go, properly, and then you go, oh, okay, they've got 6 fingers and the letters are all wrong and it's a bit too shiny. It's the same with Johnson, Trump, and Peterson. They are like aliens in human suits pretending to be human and making human noises. And it's absolutely gibberish what they're saying. I mean, it's complete bullshit. You've got Trump talking about getting electrocuted by sharks. You've got Johnson talking about going to Peppa Pig land. You've got Jordan Peterson talking about dragons existing for some reason. He thinks dragons exist. I mean, how anyone can take anyone who sounds like Elmer fucking Fudd and Daffy Duck got it on and produce this hellspawn Canadian weirdo who thinks that they're an intellectual because they use long words. Russell Brand does the same trick. talks absolute gibberish, but uses big, long, fancy words, so people think, oh yeah, he must know what he's talking about. He's posh. He went to a very expensive drama school at Sylvia Young. No, was it Sylvia Young? Yeah, it wasn't Sylvia Plath, was it? The Sylvia Young stage, young aspiring stars. A place that other young aspiring stars can't afford to go to because their parents are incredibly wealthy. Funny that. But yeah, he does the same thing. He makes human sounding noises. And it chimes with certain people who want to make themselves feel more intelligent. And you see this a lot. And I don't know. I mean, I could talk about Rick and Morty and the fact that a lot of people on the right misinterpreted Rick and Morty into being, this sort of idea that everyone's a moron except for me. Whereas in reality, Rick and Morty, we sort of enjoyed the first couple of seasons. I think it's really gone off the rails recently, and it doesn't help that Josh Rowland is a sexual assaulter. But aside from all that, the whole thing to me felt like a rip-off of Futurama, which did the same thing, more cleverer and more funnier. What can I say? That's just my opinion. Don't want to start a fight. Graham, have you seen the trailer for 28 Years Later just dropped? All shot in the Northeast. Fair bit of my work in it. Very exciting. Oh, that's some jazz. I'm excited about that. That'll be cool. I still remember going to see 28 Days Later, directed by Danny Boyle and written by Alex Garland, at the cinema in Manchester. Oh shit, in Manchester, which is good. It was all shot on PD-150s, Sony cameras, like not even high definition cameras at the first one. It's such a cheap movie to make. And thank God, we started making horror films again. And Britain used to make really good horror films back in the day. Like really good horror films. And we're not just talking about the Hammer horror movies. We're talking about those sort of fantastic dark 70s movies, things like Deathline and things like that with Donald Pleasance. Yeah, we used to make really scary movies. And then we stopped for some reason, and we went, all we want to make is period dramas and kitchen sink dramas. So we're going to have posh people playing posh people and pretending to be posh. That must have been a leap. And we're going to have posh people pretending to be working class. And that's going to be all the movies we make for the rest of the time. I saw it in Demolished Odeon in Newcastle. 28 Years was all shot on iPhones. It's bonkers. It's kind of cool though, because it's keeping in the tradition of it being filmed on shitty cameras. But yeah, I used to film a lot of stuff on PD-150s back in the day. I mean, it's talking over 20 years ago, where before things went into HD. Well, they went to HDV first, which was sort of HD. It was 1080 lines up, but it was only 440 lines across, 440 pixels across, instead of 1912, and the pixels were just not square. So you had pixels that were 1 by 1.3 instead of 1 to 1, which is what we have on true HD. But now we have 4K. Like this camera that I'm filming on, this phone is it can film in 4K, which is just insane, because 20 years ago, a 4K camera would be something that they'll film a movie with. And in fact, Star Wars Episode 2 looks so ropey today, because I think that was all filmed on just HD cameras, not on 4K cameras. So it was all filmed digitally, not on film, and it's because George Lucas wanted to push the technology. Yeah, it's dated. It looks really dated. It looks like, it probably looks all right on your phone, but if you try and put it on a big screen, you're like, oh my God. Yeah. We've got Anglo Pagan saying Rojava is the Kurdish region of Syria. All right, okay. If you mention JP too often, he might turn up in chat. He has a habit of popping up when talked about, like some insane clown from a horror novel, like Candyman. Don't say his name. They had that advert, "You come a long way, baby. You got lung cancer." Yes. Tobacco was being talked about, so I thought I'd mention an obvious ploy to get new smokers in 70s cartoons even had subliminal smoking scenes. Well, the Flintstones used to have proper adverts for Woodbine, was it? There was a particular, I'm going to try and remember what it was. Was it Winston cigarettes? There was a particular brand of American cigarettes that they literally drew cartoons, for the Flintstones, and have Fred Flintstone smoking his Woodbines, or whatever the fuck they were called. Marshall cigarette. I can't remember. Someone's going to look this up. Mm. I'm not scared of Peterson. I refuse to take him seriously while he sounds like Kermit the Frog. He does. It's not easy being green. Or the Nazi in his case. When HD 1080p was first launched, it was 1080 times 1440 because 1080 times 1920 cameras weren't available. Yes, HDV. I just said that, Lee. I mean, you're probably writing it while I was saying it. Did I have? Oh, there you go. It was Winston cigarettes. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh shit. Anyway, thanks very much for the super chat there, One Angry Pagan. 1080i, yeah. I've still got my, when I travel to every country in the world, I might have mentioned it, I actually took a HDV camera, so all my tapes are HDV. So it's nearly HD, not quite HD. But now we have amazing upgrade stuff, which can make stuff look really crisp, but only for short periods. After that, it's kind of messes up. They had the Virginia Slims tennis tournament, associated smoking with healthy sporting activity. And also, I mean, like Formula One, I mean, not only were those cars pumping out an insane amount of CO2, and then people traveling around the world to follow the Grand Prix around the world using private jets and airplanes, which also pumping out loads of CO2. Not only that, but a lot of advertising. There's a lot of tobacco advertising on the back of, literally on the back of cars, going around the track. And what they had to do in certain countries where tobacco advertising was illegal, companies like Benson and Hedges would have to change the livery, they'd have to change the signage on the cars, and they would change it to like buzzing hornets. So from a distance on an SDTV, it looked like Benson and Hedges, the same font. And one thing I always remember in Australia is they had these most horrific pictures of lung cancer and things, a cancerous lung on cigarette packets. And smokers, not only would they smoke in a building, because that's what they love to do, they wanted everyone else to die as soon as they did, and thought that people would enjoy the pleasant smell of their fucking smoke on your clothes and your hair for the rest of the day or the night. They would leave the packet of cigarettes on the table, in the middle of the table, like people do with phones now. They put it on the middle of the table in the pub, and leave it there for everyone to look at this horrific picture of, some artery clogged with tar, black tar, which was a little bit off-putting, gotta say, for the people who didn't smoke. And it was supposed to be for the people who did smoke, but I don't know if it worked. But I was saying for years that they should have, not only the cigarettes should be hidden away behind the counter, and also, a ban in all public places, which I very much still believe in. But also that if you're going to make them all the same colour, don't just pick one colour. Don't pick olive green because that was seen as the least attractive colour. Colours don't work that way. Colours are unsightly because of what other colours they are paired with. So pair olive green with puke yellow or something. Two colours that, when put together, look absolutely hideous. I mean, some people who design flags might have maybe thought about that before designing the flag of their respective country, but I digress. So brown and green and yellows, and just mixing those two colours together can make it look really horrible. And also the typeface on cigarette packets should have to be by law Comic Sans, because it's the least attractive font. Or Papyrus. No, forget Papyrus. Yoga teachers like that. Comic Sans. So you would have a green packet with yellow Comic Sans lettering, and you'd have rules like it can't be centered, like it has to be slightly off, and the kerning has to be wrong, just to make it look really unattractive. Make it look like the bottom of the bargain basket in some like pop-up Halloween shop or pop-up Christmas shop. The thing at the very bottom, it's made of plastic and it's 10p or something. But there you go. Camel started selling shoes so they could get around the tobacco advertising bans. Well, in India, the beer company Kingfisher bought an airline so they could have Kingfisher Airlines because they weren't allowed to advertise. They're quite India's quite a surprisingly anti-alcohol place. Like it's quite hard to get a license. Obviously a hotel, so foreigners who go to India might not notice that this is the case. But when you're out and about on the streets of certain towns and cities in India, it's surprisingly hard to get yourself a drink. Crap advertising didn't make me stop, but I do hope it helped to dissuade younger generations. I mean, the advertising thing. I mean, there was always that thing in the back of the heads of politicians, especially Tory politicians, which was this: in the 90s, the cost to the NHS of treating smoking-related diseases, so emphysema, heart disease, lung cancer, etc., etc., etc. There's about 47 things you can go wrong, throat cancer, mouth cancer, tongue cancer, as a result of you smoking. Because it's not, one of the reasons why it's cancerous is because it's so radioactive. I mean, they are insanely radioactive. You're like smoking a bit of Chernobyl every time you light a cigarette. Which blows my mind when you meet these sort of gym bunnies who are like, healthy living, and they don't eat this and they don't eat that, and they make a big fuss about, how healthy they are, and then they smoke. It's like, what the fuck? It's like people who religiously keep kosher but then do cocaine at the weekend, and you're like, what the? Seriously? I just lost a viewer. One person's just gone, fuck off, Graham. You anti-smoking bastard. But yeah. The cigarette companies have always tried to capitalize on the fact that they knew, and we knew, well, the politicians knew, that the cost to the NHS of treating people was about 3 times less than the amount of tax that the government got from cigarettes being taxed to the hilt. Because cigarette production costs fuck all. I mean, they could sell those packs for like 2p each and still make a profit. I mean, it's just dried leaves. I mean, that's mass produced. The vast majority of the money that you spend on cigarettes is tax, and that goes to the government, and they're very happy to use that to pay for whatever the government wants to pay for. Like, I don't know, a war. It also didn't help me to stop. I started smoking young, but when you start to you're hooked. I'm sorry, Svax, but yeah, you are. And one of the reasons for that is they put extra chemicals in, extra carcinogenic chemicals, to make it even more addictive than it otherwise would be. So it's like, getting a can of Coca-Cola, which already has 40% of your recommended daily allowance of sugar in a little tiny can, and putting more sugar in. And you're like, it doesn't need any more sugar. It's already sugary enough. No, we need more sugar because that will lead to more diabetes, which will lead to more money for the healthcare companies. It all works out in the end, doesn't it? My mother smoked, then they took the matches off me. Very good actor, Dave. When my wife and I first got pregnant around 10 years ago, I was cutting down to quit. We lost them, not smoke saints. I'm sorry, man. I refuse to be a hypocrite. I do not try and dictate to others about healthy living. However, I am on board with phasing it out for the younger generations. Yeah, absolutely. I don't think you really have to. I think that would be good, but it kind of puts the onus of policing things like that on the shop owners, which I always thought was a little bit unfair. But I think that a ban on smoking in public places needs to come in. Like, they were talking about this, they were talking about banning it in pub gardens. Oh, please ban it in pub gardens, please, for the sake of the vast majority of people who don't smoke and think it's fucking disgusting and it ruins their night. And if you are in a busy pub and you need to get out because not all of us like being confined in a busy pub like sardines, and maybe you're with the kids and you're in the pub garden with the kids having a meal or something, and there's people smoking and your kids are breathing that toxic carcinogenic smoke. I mean, if someone opens a can of fucking mustard gas outside a pub, you'd be a bit pissed off, wouldn't you? I think you'd call the busies, wouldn't you? You'd be like, there's someone trying to poison me with mustard gas here. I'm just trying to have a pint. I'm trying to have some fucking steak and chips with my kids. What the hell? So yeah, ban on smoking in public places, I think, especially, anywhere. Well, there's anywhere there's people. I was going to say anywhere there's kids. So fuck that. I hate smoking. Piss off. Go and smoke in your own houses. Oh no, I'm not going to smoke in my own house. I'm going to smoke outside in the back garden. Anywhere my own house, smelling the smoke. Graham, sitting in the pub garden, he can smell my smoke. Take that, you ginger bastard. Yeah, but I mean, there's the other side of smoking as well. I know this whole discussion is going completely derailed, as it often does on this show, with me going off on a mad tangent. But another thing that smokers can fuck off for, and no offence to people who are watching this, who are smokers, but will you stop throwing your fucking butts on the ground, please? Can you stop doing that? In fact, just stop smoking, because the cigarette butts, they never biodegrade, right? They are made of fucking fireproof material. I think they're made of asbestos. Yeah, asbestos. Let's stuff that into my face as well. I don't know what they're made of, but here's the fact, right? So the by weight plastic in the oceans. Number one, fishing gear. Okay, it's number one by weight shit in our oceans, filling up our oceans with plastic. Number two, what do you think? Plastic bottles, maybe? Plastic bottles, a lot of plastic bottles. It must be plastic bags. Plastic bags, maybe? But no, cigarette butts. And the thing about cigarette butts is they weigh less than a gram. So you have to imagine by weight the number of cigarette butts that are in our ocean. And that will stay there for hundreds and hundreds of years. And fish eating them and, thinking they're fish, I don't know. But they're adding to the microplastics in our ocean and in our water streams and eventually in our bodies. So now your average person, half of 1% of their brain is now plastic. Because of all the plastic that you have imbibed, inhaled, taken in by osmosis, I don't know, in your life, because we're living in the age of plastic. There's a chunk of your brain that is now plastic, and that's everyone on the planet. So yeah, cigarette smokers, they smoke, they throw the cigarette butt on the ground, they stamp out sometimes, they can be arsed, and that goes into the gutters, it goes into the drainage, and then it goes out into the sea. So yeah, not great. And other things that cigarette smokers used to do when I used to work in a bar, they would have a cigarette thing, an ashtray in the middle of the table, and some bright sparkle with dog ends in, and some bright sparkle put some beer in it for some reason. And then what do you do with it when you're clearing up? Can't put it down the sink, can't put it in the bin. Thanks for that. Oh, even better, when I clean the toilets at Fab Cafe in Manchester, people throwing cigarette butts in the urinal. Oh, thanks for that. How'd you get that out? Do I have a little thing with a little pincer so I can pick out your dog ends? No. I've got to put on a rubber glove and I've got to put my hand in the trough where people have been pissing and possibly puking the night before and literally fish out a soggy dog end, a soggy fag end. And thanks for that. Cheers people. Cheers for doing that. Cheers for throwing your cigarette butt in the toilet. And if there's a smoker out there who can honestly say, hand on heart, they've never thrown a cigarette butt on the ground or in a toilet ever, well done. Fantastic. I don't believe you, but well done. I think it just shows a casual disregard for stuff. I've got a mental image of an archaeologist digging out a plastic skull now. Yes, indeed. When the smoking ban came in, I'd be sat at a table in the pub and someone would come and sit at a nearby table and to get anxious they were going to light up. Took years to get over that. Yeah, Lee, I feel, similar. I mean, I absolutely hate it. I remember once going for a meal with mates and we finished. It was a Chinese meal, and then at the end of it, it was just a succulent Chinese meal. And one of my friends lit up after finishing their meal. I was still eating, and they were next to me, and I was like, "What are you doing?" I'm having a cigarette. I'm like, can you go outside? And he's like, no, you don't. I don't have to go outside. That's what I do. I'm like, oh my God. Do you not think this is going to disrupt me having my meal and the other people here don't smoke? The smell of it's horrible. Like, why would we? No, I'm going to take a shit in the middle of the table. I'm going to take a shit because I've finished my meal and everyone else can look and smell at the shit in the middle of the table. And you try to explain this to people who smoke because they don't understand how horrible it is to people who don't smoke. Because they don't understand. They can't ever understand. And no, before anyone accuses me, I've never smoked a cigarette, never smoked a joint. I hate it. I hate the smell. I just do. It's like asking me if I've ever eaten a turd. No, I haven't, because it smells disgusting. Why would I even consider doing that? People all around me are like getting turds out of their pockets and putting them on the table. I'm like, this is really weird. Why is this normal? Wouldn't be normal, would it? But cigarette companies needed to make a shit ton of money, and they did, and they still are to some extent. And now we have the problem with vaping, which I haven't even mentioned. Kids, smoking their little space age vapey pipes, which is not great. Right, no plastic refuse from filter tips. Also keep smoking in my room from Angry Pagan. Nothing worse than someone smoking near you when you're eating. Well, I mean, lung cancer. Probably a bit worse. The freedom of choice argument, as soon as a smoker is addicted, they lose that freedom not to smoke. It's very true. I have friends who have worked with addicts, and they say the work that you can stop people from being addicted to, help people to overcome their addiction to heroin easier than their addiction to cigarettes. Wow. Well. Remember when the smoking ban came in and all pubs just stank of toilets? No, Jez, I don't. That was a myth that was made up by the people who didn't want the pubs smelled fine. Like, I mean, obviously some grottier pubs would stink, but most of the pubs and places that I went to it was fine. It was like going, oh my god, now that no one's smoking in this cinema, it all smells of piss and popcorn. And I have in mind a story of mine entitled "The Cockroach Archaeologist." One is scratching around the moon, discovers a radioactive battery one day. Sounds interesting. I remember going out last night before the ban came in. The last night before the ban came in, everyone was whining about the bars smelling like without the smoke. And soon I found out who had a mouldy pub. Yes, that's true. Yeah, it doesn't smell as bad when you're a smoker yourself. The only one thing that unites us, Dr. Martens shoes. That's very, very true. Dr. Martens boots. They stank, and I got a crap sense of smell from smoking. I used to go for a night out, and your clothes and hair would stink of smoke. Then your bed sheets and pillows would smell of it as well. Yeah, I've talked about that before. Like, working in a bar in the early and late 90s, and just absolutely stinking of other people's smoke. And if you work until 2 a.m, and then you've got to clean up at the end of the night, and you don't get home till 3:30, and then are you going to have a shower and wake all your flatmates up, or you just got to go to bed because you're knackered? The tar for smoking was the only thing keeping the roof up in Wetherspoons. Well, Wetherspoons famously didn't allow smoking even before the smoking ban. What the heel is a night out? I wear a Black Rock oil rigger boots or 10th century medieval infantry boots. Okay. I'm currently wearing my these cats. I think these are steel toe cap boots I'm wearing at the moment from working on the island, which is quite fun going through the metal detectors, because I'm like, they're steel toe cap boots, and they're like, oh, don't worry about it, and I'm like, could also have something else metal on me. Anyway, but yeah, always good to have your steel toe caps on, especially if you stub your toes as much as I do. After the smoking ban, pubs just felt a bit more beery. It's a pub. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I do think there are some pubs that don't smell too great, but by and large, I mean, it's not something that I think, oh God, I don't want to go there because it smells really bad. My favourite places smell fine. Wetherspoons had no smoking areas, but there was no physical separation from the smoking areas, and it made no difference. Oh my god. And number 3 saying I stoned every day just to survive. Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's your choice. That in your own home, that's fine. It's just I don't want to smell it, because I also think that cannabis stinks. It's horrific. Here in Toronto, cannabis is legal. It's been legal now for 6 years or something. And there's loads of cannabis shops, and every single street corner stinks of cannabis. And if you don't like the smell of cannabis, it's not great, is it? I mean, I'm sure if you love cannabis and you're one of these people who is quite evangelical about everyone should smoke it as well, you'll probably disagree with me on this and think that it smells wonderful. And I think it smells a bit like burnt plastic. I think it smells a bit like tobacco and mixed with burnt plastic. That's just the way it comes across to my nostrils. I don't go out. I don't go to pubs much since the smoking ban. Due, it's a pain going out constantly, and I don't bother going myself. Barely drink now, so that's good. Well, you save a lot of money not drinking. Weatherspoon's Tim Martin. That's enough to stay away. Indeed, indeed it is. Anyway, all right. We have digressed, and I need to steer the conversation back to where we started. But before I do, I just want to say that I'm currently I'm in Toronto. I was in downtown Toronto. There's big buildings behind me. They're all a bit yucky, to be honest with you. There's some nice buildings lower down, like some old brick buildings that have obviously been zoned and said you can't build a big tall building on this. But I'm actually on top of the TIFF Lightbox Cinema at the moment, which is where they have the Toronto International Film Festival, which is really cool. So this is this room here. It's kind of set up like the BBC breakfast couch, and I'd like to show you this. I am actually sitting on like a corner couch with a beautiful backdrop. If I'd been doing this, via my camera and via my laptop and stuff, I would have made it a bit more, studio-like, and they'd be like, "Welcome to Mystery Brew." And I also would have made myself a cup of coffee this morning, which I ran out of time to do. But yeah, it's quite fun being here. But it's got me really thinking about the next few years, because obviously I got my American visa, and one of the reasons why I got my American visa, other than that I was kind of hoping that Trump wouldn't win, but was I've got friends who live in America, and I want to be doing more, going back to my filmmaking roots of making shorts and writing scripts, and applying for competitions and script writing competitions and things like that. And there's a lot of stuff that actually happens here in Toronto, in this building, in which my friends literally have a flat above the cinema here. There's a private cinema that they can use. And I was like, oh my God, if this was me, like if I had like a 60-seat cinema that I could just use in my building, I would be putting on screenings every week, I'd have like double bills of the maddest two films that you could possibly think to put together, think Barbenheimer. And I'd be doing like a whole talk about the film before it came on and what to look out for, proper curating it, and I'd bloody love it, and I'd probably stream it and shoot. Oh, you couldn't stream it, copyright, would you? But it's really, really cool. I'm just like, it's firing up my imagination, and I'm really enjoying being here. It's firing up my imagination for what I could possibly do in the future, which, since Trump got in, I was like, well, I don't really want to go to America anytime soon, especially not in the next 4 years, or maybe 8 years, or maybe 16 years. I don't know how the Orange Mugabe is going to last. But coming here, yeah, I can do that. I come to Toronto. Loads of films filmed here. So if you watch The Boys, I think I mentioned this, it was filmed just literally on the intersection down here. The scene where Homelander kills someone in front of a big crowd and everyone cheers, echoing Trump's thing about, I could kill someone on Fifth Avenue, else get away with it. So that, it's good. It's kind of been a bit inspiring. The reason why last week I couldn't tell you that I was in Canada is that it was a surprise for my friend's husband, who has followed my travels around the world for years, and it's his 60th birthday. And so his husband got in touch with me and said, would you like to come to Canada? And I'm like, well, I'm going to Panama anyway. I could come to Canada on the way back and have a week in Canada. And he's like, yeah, let's do that. So it was a big surprise at the party that I pop out the cake like Erica Eleniak or whatever her name was in Under Siege, so that's why I couldn't say where I was, just in case my friend Cliff was watching one of my videos and went, oh, he's in Toronto. Why is he in Toronto? That's ruined the surprise. So that was quite cool. We did actually film the bit when I turned up, and Cliff's reaction was absolutely priceless. So it was really, really, really cool. Anyway, that's why I couldn't say where I was last week. But now I can, but I'm still going to call it Mystery Brew because it's more fun to keep the name, at least for today. And then tomorrow, I'm going to be in London. So if anyone wants to join me, meet me in London. I was supposed to be meeting Abe Thompson at 12 o'clock in a pub near Euston. So if you'd like to come along to that, please do let me know if you're going to come, because My flight gets in at like 8. No, it's probably going to take me an hour or so to get into central London. And I was supposed to be meeting Aid, but Aid's his little girl is not feeling so well, and there's a good chance that she might have to go to hospital tomorrow. And if that's the case, he won't be able to, or she might go to hospital today, and in which case he'll be looking after his little one, so he won't be able to make it along. So please do let me know if you can make it tomorrow to meet up in the pub. But whatever happens, what I might do, because I will be back on network, like someone with health insurance going to the right hospital. I mean mobile phone network. I might actually do a little brew from the pub. Bringing in that whole sort of Three Blokes in the pubcast, bring it together with morning brew. So maybe, if you're very lucky, tomorrow morning, possibly before, if anyone's going to turn up, so maybe about 11:30, I might do a show. So just look out for it. I'll try and trail it. I'll try and set it up on my phone to say there's going to be a show at X time. But that would be quite fun. And if you want to be part of the show, maybe and you're in London, please don't come to London special. Just if you're in London anyway. And we can do a bit of a stream if you want from the pub, like we used to in the olden days when we did the Three Blokes in the pub. But we'll see how it goes. It might be dead loud in the pub, and there might be reasons why we can't broadcast from there. But hope springs eternal. So if you can join us for that, that'd be great. And then on Thursday morning, I'm actually going to Liverpool. So I will probably. And I've got to get back to Durham quite early tomorrow on Thursday, so I don't know if I'll be doing a morning brew. But what I might do is get back to Durham for 12, and then do a last mystery brew from Durham on Thursday, and then it'll be back to the old calendar, our old routine. On Friday, hopefully we'll have morning brew in the morning. We'll have the agenda with me and Phil. So I'll have Phil back on the channel at last. So all those subscribers who left, please come back. Please come back. Phil's back on the channel. And then we'll be having the Friday night social on Friday. So all that to look forward to. My little month-long sojourn around the Americas is coming to an end today, because I'm flying back this afternoon. So please join us for all of that. And let me know if you can make it to the pub tomorrow, because if Aid's not going to be there and no one can make it along, there's literally no point in me sitting in the pub for an hour. I may as well just go back to Liverpool there and then. Just let me know. I'm kind of glad I didn't buy a ticket now for the train. I was almost down by the Law Society pub yesterday, but so windy. Hope the wee lass gets well. Pass it on to him, Graham. Oh yeah, I will do. She's very cute. Ruby is very, very cute, and her being ill is not. I mean, any kid being ill is a bit shit, but yeah, particularly Ruby. 10 of you have arrived, only one shall leave, says Duke Vengeance. That sounds a bit scary. Anyway, it's coming up to the 1 hour mark now, and I was going to go yak on for half an hour this morning. Places to go, things to do. Probably need to buy a couple of souvenirs before I go. But I just want to say thank you so much for watching. Thanks for the super chats. And until next time, please do that if you remember what I was talking about earlier. Find those videos. Find those videos of Americans just talking about their experiences with American healthcare and not being insured, and going bankrupt, and people dying, and send it to your family and friends who support Nigel Farage and say, this is what Farage wants for the UK. And we have evidence that he does, because he mentions it all the fucking time. I mean, it's not like you're plucking it out your arse and saying, this is what he wants. He wants this. He also wants fox hunting. And I also feel like if you have friends who are a bit, that way inclined, Trumpy, but love animals, fox hunting, Farage is a big supporter of the hunt. He dresses up like some kind of stately home wanker with his, wax jacket on, so he can go and shoot some beautiful birds that don't need to be shot, because he's a fucking horrible man. He's just, he's a sadist. And finding and identifying these pressure points to turn people away from these monsters, and expose the fact they're monsters. There's no time like the present, because otherwise they're just going to keep growing in power and stature and being invited back on fucking Question Time every other fucking day for the rest of eternity until the heat death of the universe. So I really implore you to do that. And even people who might not otherwise be particularly Faragey, but might be like, oh, I think the Americans have got it right about anything, because obviously I don't think so. I don't think they do. Political X did a good video showing that, Graham. Oh, sorry, that made it look like I was allergic to Alex, which I'm completely not. No, Political X, yes, absolutely. I think I'm doing a show. I think I'm signed up to do a Sunday roast with him soon. Shit, watch this space. Thank you for reminding me. But yeah, Alex did a very, really good video on that. So please check that out. If you're not already subscribed to the Political X channel, please subscribe. Also, Phil and Aid and Super Tansky, all lost lot. We're all here for you. We're all here for you. And yeah, if you can meet us tomorrow in the pub, let us know, and I'll be there. I'll let you know where to go. And if you are a YouTube member or a Patreon, please check the messages. I've put a message on Discord. I've also put a message on the Patreon, and I've also put a message out for the YouTube members saying where the pub is and what time we're meeting. So please come along. You're very, very welcome to do so. And then until next time, I'll say thank you so much for watching, and hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.